You're not going to believe what we've uncovered about who is really behind all of the bad organizing that's going on in this country that is against this country. Now, George Soros gets way too much credit for all of his involvement and all the work that happens because his money gets spread out around the world. Yeah, there's a lot of money that he spends right here in America, but no one ever stops and thinks about the fact he isn't organizing anything. He gives money to the people who are. The real dangerous people are the people who accept his money and use it. Soros carefully distributes his money to organizations that are already established. They already have a track record. They're already proven that they can do damage to American government and society. They work with other organizations that are already here and well established. They are using money from a lot of other places. And what we found is going to rock you. Soros gets credit for everything like he's the grand lightning rod that draws all the attention. That protects everybody else. Bill and Melinda Gates actually contribute more money to political causes in America than Soros does. But all you hear is Soros, Soros, Soros. Every time you see a protest, they say, oh, it's Soros. No, it isn't. Soros is just one of many. But he happily takes the credit for everything because he's the boogeyman, and the real people who are behind everything just hide in the shadows. Welcome back to another episode of What They Don't Say. And I got some things here that you are not going to believe. As always, everything is verifiable. Everything in this program can always be verified by simply searching the facts, reading our Constitution, or reading history. Everything is verifiable, or it won't make it to the air in this channel. So here's something for you to think about that's really going to rock your brain. Would you believe, first of all, that there are female rabbis? I thought I knew something about Judaism. I didn't know they had female rabbis. Here's what's really crazy. Did you know they have female lesbian rabbis? They have female lesbian rabbis that are married to a wife. Okay, I guess this is 2026, right? I didn't know they allowed that. Everybody that is a little bit politically astute has always wondered what the hell is wrong with these crazy New York Jews that hate Jews. Even the Jews that go to church, their synagogue, they even seem to have that self-hate. I don't understand it. Nobody understands it. They vote against themselves. They hate Israel. And then they're proud of the fact that they're Jews. If you can explain that, then your head is as messed up as theirs is. But that's where you find the radical, lefty, lesbian women rabbis, okay? Man, that's even hard to spit out. The most dangerous woman in the world right now is an American. She has global influence, global power, bigger than Soros in America, more dangerous than Soros in America. She has her own army. She has funding that mirrors that of Soros and is greater than Soros. And she's operating right out in the open and nobody looks at her. What is wrong with our media that Nick Shirley, a kid with no experience and nothing but a cell phone and a selfie stick, went out and was able to blow the lid off this Minnesota fraud? None of our media did. None of the Republican Party did. This is just as bad. People need to look into it because our media and the Republican Party is not doing their job. So we've got this most dangerous person in the world. She's a New York lefty Jew married to a rabbi. This is her right here, the president of the American Federation of Teachers here in America. Now that makes you think, okay, it's a teachers union. Did you know that the AFT, American Federation of Teachers, also has members that are government employees? They're healthcare professionals. They are nurses. They are not just teachers. These people have their fingers into everything. And when you stop and think about where's all the lefty activism coming from, it's coming from our government organizations. Gee, she's got her fingerprints all over that. It's coming from our hospitals and our healthcare system. Remember COVID? Remember how the leading activists for shutting down our schools, for shutting down our businesses, for taking away American freedom and rights? Remember how that was all centered in the hospital and healthcare workers and in the teachers and the school systems? Remember how the teachers were heroes because they wanted to shut down schools? How they wanted to herd the kids around like cattle when they did come back? How they indoctrinated the children and how the healthcare professionals went along with it? You think that's a coincidence? All the propaganda that is pushed on them, that is a constant bombardment with the lefty agenda, that is because of this woman. But she is far beyond schools. That's one of the things that covers her is people saying, well, that's a teachers union. Okay, well, we know the schools are bad. Schools suck. It's even worse than that because she operates way beyond the teachers union. Remember the No Kings protest? I did a special episode on that, a couple of them. And I tried to tell everybody because right-wing media was laughing about it. Oh, they're stupid. There's no kings. They're not going to get rid of Trump. They're not. That wasn't the goal. When they have those big protests like that, the reason they do that is because they have recruiters out there working in the crowd. Did you notice that the No Kings protest that drew millions of people in over 2,300 different locations across the country, none of them were violent? There were no acts of violence in anything. That's because they needed these protests. They needed them so they could use it for recruiting events. They weren't trying to cause mayhem. They were using those for structured recruiting events for building the armies of people that we've been seeing show up in these cities against ICE. That's how they recruit their flash mobs. That's why they don't have any violence at their recruiting events. It's because they were using them. That's why No Kings is always peaceful. It's Democrat recruiting. All of it organized from the top down by Randy Weingarten. She is powerful in the shadows and no one even looks at her. She is the chief organizer of No Kings. They weren't trying to throw Trump out of office. They were raising an army. I did an episode on that. The American Federation of Teachers is not about education. It is an activist wing of the Democrat Party. It is an activist wing of globalist socialism and one world government. That is what they exist for. It's just like when the Teamsters Union was taken over by the mafia and they used that to finance all the casinos out in Vegas. It's like when the Longshoremen Dock Workers Union was taken over so they could steal everything that was coming off on and off the import-export ships. This is their center of operations. They build it within these unions. It's a crime syndicate. And look what happened. Look what's been happening. We've always wondered how come something can happen in politics and the very next day the Democrats in Los Angeles have the same signs as the one in Portland, as the one in Seattle, as the one in Maine, as the ones in France. Did you know that the American Federation of Teachers, our teachers union that has corrupted our entire education system, it is a standing army. They have 1.8 million members themselves. Randy Weingarten gets paid $600,000 a year. $600K. An incredible sum. She's basically an anti-American political organizer. She has taken that over. She isn't about education. She is about pushing the globalist New World Order agenda. She's working with the World Economic Forum. Why would a union president go to Davos to that meeting that they just had over there? She goes every year. Do yourself a favor. If you doubt any of this, go into YouTube and look at some of the speeches from this woman. But I've got some more information for you here. All these protests that we're seeing, we have parents who are outraged. They're pulling their kids out of school because the schools are getting so lefty. We still have to pay for those schools. Why isn't anybody saying what's happening to them? That isn't individual teachers. That isn't the principals. That isn't the school boards deciding this. It's organized top down, coming from the desk of Randy Weingarten. She has been in that position since 2008. And have you noticed over the last 20 years, 18 years, that's when we got all these transvestite programs in schools. That's where all of this stuff has been normalized. That is where They're getting the queerness built into the curriculum. Sure, we got some fights going on against it now, but that's temporary because there's governors like DeSantis. He's done a great job throwing that out of the schools. He won't last down there forever. And when he's gone, Randy Weingarten has her army there. But even if you make a law throwing all that garbage out of the schools, even if you make that law, they are still activating these children for nonsense. What fourth grade kid is so angry about fascism that they have a sign made up and go out and protest outside their school? What right does the teachers union have to use our children and grandchildren as protest cannon fodder? They're using them, they're teaching them, and that all comes down from the top, beginning with Randy Weingarten. She is the one that organizes all this. It is her network, her organization, her global organization that coordinates all of this stuff so we can have the same sign in San Francisco, New York City, and Paris the next morning. Why are little kids in public schools across America suddenly so outraged by these global concerns, these global political issues, these globalist lefty agenda issues, that they have to walk out of school? They demand their school be closed so they can protest what's going on across the world. Yeah, little kids really pay attention to that. Everyone gets their marching orders. We always knew there was a central source. It is not George Soros. It is Randy Weingarten, the most dangerous woman on the planet. No woman in government or an NGO has more power than her, and she wields it deftly. She's had years and years of practice. She grew up in a union household. Her mother was a teacher, her dad was an electrician. When she was in 11th grade, the teachers had gone out on strike. She worked with her mother. Her mother indoctrinated her, radicalized her, and had her go back to school and start running polls on the damage it had done to the school system and to their education because they didn't get what they wanted in the teacher strike. And that woman has been a rabid, radical organizer ever since. She was raised to do that, and she is doing it, and she's taking it to the next level. She's getting paid $600,000 a year. They have an operating budget of just under $200 million a year that comes from the dues of the teachers, the nurses, the healthcare professionals, the college professors, everybody that is in the American Federation of Teachers. They all pay their dues, and it all gets used for this. It's the same thing the mafia did. They take the dues money and they use it for their agenda. Not only do they have nearly $200 million a year just coming in from union dues, they collect money from other sources and other donors globally. Another $100 million. Tell me where that's all coming from. And that's all being used to indoctrinate our kids and to organize Democrat street protests, Democrat agenda activism in all of our state legislatures, in our counties, in our cities. It's all being spent against us, against America. Look at their website. Here's an example of what is in it. Now, why is a teachers union teaching crap like this to our kids? But one of the things that they do, one of the expenditures, I looked up what they spend their funds on. Look at this. This is what they spend to pay teachers and other educators for political action. These people are being paid to go out and set up things like the No Kings protest. They're paid to show up at the federal building. They are paid to shut the school down and take your kids out of school. They have no right. Can you imagine if the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers suddenly told the general contractors and the architects, you can't build your building like that anymore. That is not our policy. We don't like it. And we're going to shut this down if you don't start building the way we say. Can you imagine United Auto Workers or United Mine Workers saying, here's how you're going to run your business. And if you don't run your business our way, we're shutting you down. We don't like you designing those cars. We don't like you digging that kind of hole in the mine. We don't like you buying that brand of truck. We're going to shut it down. You're going to listen to us. The teachers union is the only union that gets away with that. They have no right to close a school that the taxpayers pay them to operate. They have no right to shut that school down and take those poor indoctrinated little kids that don't even know what their sign means and get those kids out in the streets. Of course, the kids like going out on a protest. So it's like a field trip. You get out of class. Hey, who wants to get out of class today? The sun's shining. Let's go carry some signs. There, yeah, yippee skippy. Let's get out of here. They're using the kids. They don't have a right to do this. Where is the outrage from the parents? Where is the outrage from the property taxpayers that are funding this stuff? You are paying those teachers to do a job, not to shut it down and use these kids as crash test dummies for Democrat agendas. This is globalist agendas. Randi Weingarten has publicly and proudly declared that she is working with the World Economic Forum to develop new curriculum for American schools. We want the radical globalist socialists from the World Economic Forum to decide what our kids are learning in school. We want them from Europe telling us what kind of socialism will be taught to our children in the schools we pay for. That's what is happening with this woman. Everything they're focused on is for one world government. Listen to Randi Weingarten speeches. Go into YouTube and just type in Randi Weingarten speeches. Go to the American Federation of Teachers website and look at the things that they're doing. This woman is a lot more dangerous than Soros. Hey, I hope you take a minute and like, comment, share. We're still a new channel. We're trying to crack that algorithm code so that we start getting shared more within YouTube. So we moved everything over here, and believe me, this is a lot more work than I'd imagine. All this editing, I didn't know this stuff at first, okay? And there's a learning curve for it. We're new. We need the help. We need the comments. So please, because like I said, everything we tell you is 100% verifiable, and we tell you what they don't say. That's why we named it this. But nobody is talking about her. She's getting away with all of this, and you are paying for it. She is using your kids and your grandkids. They are part of her army. They're tied to Antifa. They're tied to all the European organizations. They're tied to the Australian organizations. All of the teachers globally are involved in the Western world are all involved in this because of the organization that she sits at the top of, bigger than Soros. She's right out in the open. It's right in their websites. It's right in her speeches. Check for yourself. There's going to be more about this later, but right now, this is a lot to absorb. Go ahead and look up everything yourself. Please comment if you find more information or if you got something else you want to know about her. Tip me off. Send me a comment. We're not done with this. We're just getting started. But this is wrong. We got to take back our schools. And that doesn't mean just passing legislation so that, oh, they can't say this. They can't have a tranny singing songs to them on Friday afternoon. No, these people, they're relentlessly pounding on our kids' heads. They are radicalizing them in the classroom. 1.8 million teachers. That is an army of propagandists working on our children through the school systems that we pay for. And this lady, in my opinion, is public enemy number one. She's without a doubt the most powerful woman in the world. She's anti-American. She hates our system. She hates our Constitution. She wants all of that changed. And she's going to work across society to accomplish it. And everyone's letting her get away with it. This has to stop. It has to stop on our watch. Randi Weingarten and the AFT. We should not even have public employee unions. That's another fight. That's going to be the topic of another episode. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. We need the subscribers. We're a new channel. Help us grow, and we'll help you learn. We got to get this right, my friends, and if we do, Maybe God will continue to bless this great country of ours. Thanks for listening.